Today we're going to be doing a special treat for you all. It's going to be video games that don't exist anymore. Now, or genres that don't exist anymore. I'm curious. I mean, consider me titillated. I am tiddlywonked. I'm ready. And the thumbnail on this is just fucking fire too. Where is the where is, look at that. Look at that. 10 dead genres. That's just gorgeous. That's just gorgeous. It looks so good, dude. I'm so excited for this video. What game is this? Ooh. Ooh. What the fuck is this? Is it like actually an action game or is it just platforming? I haven't seen a single person get punched in the face yet. What is this? Okay, that's gold. That's a skull. Where we got going? What is this, dude? What is this? Hey, Behemoth. That looks fun. That's fine. I didn't see any deaths, so I'm not into
Recently
it.
thinking about.
Here we go.
Hi. I've been recently thinking about different kinds of games I've not seen for a while. You know, games that were once very popular, mainstream even, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, I stopped hearing about them at all. And then it occurred to me that all it may be because some of their genres may not exist anymore. I mean, sure, today, when there are literally hundreds of indies releasing daily, no genre is truly dead. But what I mean by not existing in this particular case is not seeing them come out.
I want to see Arkham likes die. I don't want to see that fucking lame ass Arkham combat anymore. I would be happy to never do that I think it's called freeform combat. Whatever that genre is, the Arkham like games, I want them to die. I hate that combat so much. It's so spongy. It's so goddamn spongy. The only game it kind of worked in was Arkham Asylum, and I haven't played Arkham City, so I can't tell you if that game is any good. But I know that after I played that, and then I played that fucking that Lord of the Rings game, I was like, oh, it's Batman combat. And then I played the Spider-Man game, and I'm like, oh, Spider-Man is Batman combat. I don't like it. I didn't like that much in the Arkham games, but the aesthetic was really nice. When I played the Spider-Man game, I was like, this is just ruining the gaming experience playing as Spider-Man. It's just absolutely cringing its way into the ecosphere, and I've not liked the Spider-Man games because of it. I mean, there's other problems I have with those Spider-Man games, like I don't think the characters are done right and blah blah blah, but the combat is not something that, because like I can't even go and enjoy the combat. I hate the story, and then I like fucking the combat's just as bad.
As double or triple A titles, or releasing only every once few years and gaining no real traction among gamers. And it's these genres that I'd like to talk to you about today. And what better place to start than top-down racers? Once a very popular kind of games, especially in the multiplayer scene, keeping friends glued to their screens, sitting at the same couch and...
Well, I think one reason why these died is because we're in such a modern age that why would you play a top-down racer when you can play a like third-person racer? It just makes sense.
Trying to one-up another. These were the games that started off on the very first popular 8-bit systems like NES or C64 and carried on with us all the way to the early 2000s.
I hate this game, bro. I fucking hate this game. I hate it so much. It's not fun. Everything feels like you're sliding around on jizz.
To disappear and never resurface in the mainstream.
Or vaginal fluid, whatever you think is better.
Again. I mean, do you remember how fun it was to play Micro Machines against that buddy of yours? Fighting to cross that screen border before he did, leaving him in the dust just to claim that elusive victory point. Or how
I don't know. Whatever one of these was made by Rare, I hate that game.
important couch elbow play was. Arguably as important as what was happening on the screen. Or how cool it was trying to push him off the track to overtake him after that extremely difficult turn that both of you always had problems taking at full speed. Yeah. The answer is as simple as it is outdated. It was hella fun, for granted for years, until it finally disappeared.
Yeah, it's been lagging bad
What
lately.
exactly
It's
happened,
been like
what
really
turn
bad
of events
lately.
made the top-down racers obsolete in a blink of an eye, but one day they were there, and on another all we had were these modern, 3D behind-the-car arcade racers and true-to-life simulations with online moves.
Yeah, but that's the problem with the top-down. This is very similar to what the top-down was, but you have better control over the vehicle. That's the problem, is you have better... You have better control, you have better abilities to actually do what you want to do with the car. I think this is like, yeah, it sucks that genre is dead, but at the same time, do we care that much? It's like Grand Theft Auto 3 was like, hey, we're not going to do the top-down thing anymore, and everybody was like, cool, we didn't like it to begin with. We didn't hate it, but whatever.
multiplayer only. I'm not gonna say that emergence of 3D graphics is to blame for it, cause Ignition was top-down and in 3D, and it did quite well too, but it's not a false statement either when I say that the more advanced the 3D got over the years, the fewer of these games we had. It's perhaps a weird coincidence and nothing more. Perhaps.
I don't think it's a coincidence. I just think that there's no reason for those games to exist. Like, it's just like, why would you play that racer when you could play the better racer? Hey, like, not I need to leave chat, but I'll have you on TV. Oh, cool, Seymour. I appreciate you even for showing up, buddy. But yeah, dude, there's no way that people actually are like sitting here like wanting a fucking top-down racer again. Those games were ass cheeks.
I think that there's no other genre than FMV adventure games that had such a huge and unexpected boom, and spawned literally dozens of different games in the span of just a couple of years, just to then near instantly disappear and be forgotten. In the early to mid-90s, with introduction of CDs and seemingly near limitless capacity of that storage solution, game designers wanted to make their games bigger, more realistic and involving. And while they could have settled for better storytelling, larger and more populated game worlds, and more intricate puzzles, going for the digital...
I've never played one of these games. I'm not big on the like Telltale games, and I feel like these are just like more of the Telltale games. Now, I could be wrong. You'll have to let me know in chat or whatever if these are... And while you're down there, hit a like. I mean, Seymour, hit a like. Everybody needs to hit a like, but it's one of those things that I just never really drew me to it. And it's the thing is, I've had people in the past tell me, because I'm looking for like, I'm always looking for like a really good first person, like fast action type game with a good story. And people are like, well, you need to play the immersive sim. And I'm like, I really don't like the immersive sim type of like gameplay loop. It's really not for me. I like a I like a crazy FPS game with a good story. And then they're like, well, if you like story, you should play like a Telltale type game or a game like or an adventure game. And I'm like, well, I don't like the gameplay of that. And it's one of those things that it's like I'm constantly looking for an FPS game that can bring me a story that these can, because I don't like the gameplay of these games.
graphics.
And I could be wrong. I could be way off, and these aren't like a Telltale game, but you'll have to let me know.
With real actors was easier and faster choice. Not always better, but nearly always
She had nice boobs.
cringe, as they often ended up using unknown and rather bad actors. And sure, while there were some outliers like Under a Killing Moon, its follow-up Pandora Directive or Phantasmagoria and few others, that they were truly fun, well put together and immersive, most games turned out to be either boring and repeatable or clearly made just to cash in on the digitization fab before it faded away. Now, it would be unfair of me to claim that FMV adventure games are an entirely dead genre and that there are no games released in it, but we literally get one or two at most every few years now, like Her Story, Late Shift or Telling Lies for instance, and while they're not bad, and way better than most of these were when the genre was at its heyday, they never gained the popularity necessary to bring back the genre, and to this day stay comfortably in the realm of obscure.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody really... no, I think a lot of these... I think most of this list is going to be things like, oh, shit, wow, dude, that's because nobody liked them really that much. I mean, yeah, they were niche, and there's like a nostalgia for them, and I feel like that's why you'll see one pop up every once in a while, but it's not like... I feel like the whole list is going to be games like that.
And little known games. How could I talk about FMV titles and not mention traditional point-and-click adventure games? I couldn't, so here we are. Between late 80s and late 90s, so a solid 10 years, they were not only one of the most popular and beloved games, but also a genre that was the most robust in terms of number of released titles and spread of themes that they covered. From prehistoric through very popular at the time fantasy and less so realistic, to always fun science fiction and anything in between. Point is, if you were into something, whatever it may be, chances were that there were at least few adventure games touching the subject, and most of all, that they were most likely pretty good. And sure, it could be argued that many, if not most, were very linear and offered a single-time experience only, but that would be an unfair generalization. Especially that there were dedicated and talented studios like LucasArts or Sierra among others that not only made sure that many of their games were playable more than once, but also that they offered deep, engaging and captivating story that many of today's adventure games could still learn from. It's worth pointing out, pun intended, that point-and-clickers are also responsible for...
Wait, is that game Leisure Suit Larry? I feel like this dude's just like picking a bunch of like savage-ass games and then putting them all on screen. I think that was Leisure Suit Larry. I don't know. I've never played Leisure Suit Larry. I honestly thought it was like a newer game. That dude looks like Leisure Larry. I don't know shit about that game.
For later cinematic adventure games that we still get to this day, in the form of games by such great studios as Don't Nod, Telltale or Quantic Dream. And these are some of the most engaging and touching games of the last decade. Life is Strange and Detroit Become Human are the ones I can wholeheartedly recommend. Anyway, to be
Bro, I tried playing Detroit Become Human. That game's boring as fuck. I just don't like this type of genre either. This is another one. It's just boring to me. It's like, if I wanted to watch a movie, I'd watch a movie. It's like... And that sucks because I understand that there is appeal to it, that you're choosing your adventure. But at the same time, it just kind of... I don't know.
quite honest here with you, we do get an odd traditional game in the genre from time to time to this day even. But they're really rare and most of the time stay within the realm of indie releases, often banking on crowdfunding to be launched. So, while not dead, point and clickers are definitely on the prolonged life support. What was the biggest genre of 1990s? It's not an easy question, as there were two major contenders: first-person shooters and real-time strategies. But given that the first is still doing fine, more than fine in fact, and every other game today, whichever the genre it mixes, tends to be utilizing the viewpoint, it's gotta be the latter. And yes, it's the RTSs that I consider to be mainly dead by 2024.
I don't think RTSs are that dead. I don't play RTSs. Again, this whole video is going to be genres that I don't play. But RTSs for me were never really fun. But I feel like they're still fine. They released like Midnight Suns, that did okay. They released fucking that Aliens game that and there's constant RTSs coming out. And like isn't like the Civilization series RTS in the RTS genre? And they're like fucking huge. My buddy's always playing Civ 6 or whatever. Are those Civilization? I don't know. City builder games? I get the city builder and the RTS games confused, but I feel like RTSs are still fine.
Is an occasional game released every few years, and a good one even less often than that, but other than these last few efforts, hardly anyone cares about them anymore. Perhaps it's because they evolved into MOBAs, and this became the next big thing, although even they are not as grand as they were a few years back, or perhaps it was video game market's oversaturation, as between late 90s to mid 2000s it felt like every second game released was some kind of an RTS. I mean, Star Trek...
I mean, you look at the fact that, like, Halo Wars, you have, fucking... Everything has a tactics version of it. I mean, every game series has one of these. So, I don't know if it's dead. I mean, they keep showing up every once in a while. I mean, there's something that consistently exists.
Star Wars, whatever the brand you can think of, had its own RTS game or games. And while some were of unquestionably high quality, like Dune 2 and 2000, Warcraft 2, Command & Conquer games, or even StarCraft, that in itself was in large part responsible for spawning of the esports as we know it today, not all were made the same. And between many greats, as many shit nuggets hit and stunk up the entire genre. It's just my guess though, cause I honestly don't know what happened for RTS to be hit so hard to near disappear off the market, but they did, and now they're barely a shade of what they used to be. Which is a shame, as the resource gathering, base building and armies training trifecta of mechanics, while on the surface real simple to grasp and follow, was really difficult to master and hella addicting to most gamers of the time. Present company sadly excluded.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think they're fine. I mean, like, RTS games pop up all the time. They're one of the most annoying things ever because I'll see something that looks really cool and it's an RTS game. There's so many of them. Like, there's so many of those games. It's not...
Couch co-op games have been dead and forgotten for the most of late 2000s, and then unexpectedly resurrected in the mid-2010s by the likes of Lovers in Dangerous Spacetime or Overcooked games. These are small indie titles perhaps, but ones that did a great job of reigniting the fun that it was to sit among friends in the same room and compete with them or against them, having drinks and a lot of fun. Ever since then, while most of the releases are rather small, they are coming steadily, and we have quite a few decent games that can be enjoyed in the comfort of the elbow wrestling environment today. But one genre that I failed to notice to re-emerge, short of maybe Mario Party games that are relegated to one platform only, are the competitive sports games. You know, the likes of Decathlon or Summer and Winter Games by Epix. Titles that brought us together in front of the screen, allowed us to type our names in, and had us competing...
So... Like, but yeah, but like, you cut out I get that you're trying to find anything to make this video, and this isn't me hating on anybody, but the fact that the Sonic and Mario and Sonic the Olympic Games was fucking fire, and you cut out that whole genre. It's, I don't know. There are people making them, and I get that those are more cartoony, and you're looking more for more realistic, but they still exist.
Indeed.
But I would say that, like, this is a dead genre. You are right. It's just, like, it sucks that you cut out the only thing that would be the argument for there, which was real smart of you. But I just, like, I feel, I do miss, like, the snowboarding and stuff games. Like, there was, like, well, I can't remember what it was called. It was called, I know there's a couple, but I remember playing, Shaun White's snowboarding, and I fucking loved that game.
Olympic sporting events, seeing who would be a better athlete. In some early cases, it was quite literal, as many of the disciplines required either maniacal joystick waggling or as crazy as that, repeatable opposing keys presses. Both as dangerous to the controllers as they were capable of giving you a carpal tunnel syndrome at young age. Still, as painful as this could be, literally and metaphorically, they were also some of the most fun we could have in a group of friends in the late 80s and early 90s, and something I would like to see come back today, preferably in a less dangerous to gamepad and wrists manner. If you had PlayStation 2 or competing systems at the time, you definitely played Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. In fact, you've played many more extreme sports games, stuff like countless SSX releases, or Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX titles, and numerous others not always endorsed by
We do have a new Skate coming out, I guess, and I hear Skate games are really good. So we do have a new Skate. I know Skate 3 was the last one. I think they're doing Skate 4. So, and then they did do a remake of the Tony Hawk game. So at least, like, we are getting these every once in a while. But it isn't. I was saying the same thing about the snowboarding games. You just don't see them as much anymore. They're not, like, on the hunt as they used to be. They're not as popular, and it kind of sucks because these games were pretty fun.
famous sportsmen. It was a time when I felt that there were way too many of these and I couldn't easily distinguish between them, with many of these game series releasing nearly yearly. Now, I'm not a big sports gamer, because I care very little for sports in real life, and I even never got into super popular Tony Hawk's titles either. But I can appreciate a good game for what it is, even if it's not for me, and even if I was never going to be playing it. So, with most of these being rather high quality and pretty fun, it was surprising that they've suddenly disappeared into non-existence around the late 2000s.
You have no idea how much I loved Shaun White's snowboarding. I had it on the PSP. I fucking loved that game. I loved it so much. I think this is Shaun White snowboarding. This is that, or is it the other one? But I was in love with this game. Like, I was in love with the snowboarding game. The skateboarding games were never really my thing, but the snowboarding, oh my god, I fucking love this shit. Dude, it used to make my nipples so hard.
I think that skate games and Shaun White snowboarding may have been the last few made.
It is Shaun White snowboarding, dude. I fucking loved this game, dude. I fucking loved this game. I want this game to come back so bad.
Releases in the genre. I mean, sure, we've got Descenders and Lonely Mountains Downhill in 2018 and 2019 respectively, but that's two small indie titles in how many years? At least 10. They're both pretty good too, and as far as I know were rather well received, so the market is there. What happened to the games though? Maybe while the interest is present, the audience is just not big enough for a triple or even double A release. Or maybe these smaller, dropped every few years or so random games are plenty enough and no more is needed. Hard to tell, but the fact stands that extreme sports games are no more, and once they were everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about the extreme sports thing too, another thing is that culture's kind of dead. Skate culture really isn't what it used to be. Now, you couldn't go anywhere without skate culture being like the thing. I mean, fucking what's his name? The guy who does Ridiculousness. I can't remember his name, but he ran Rob Dyrdek. Like Robin Big, and then it was like Fantasy Factory and all of that. He ran fucking MTV, and it was like Jackass and all the skater bro thing was like so big, and it's just died off. It's just not really that big of a thing anymore.
You know what I loved playing in the 90s to get my mind off things? To forget about problems and worries? And no, it was not first-person shooters.
Dude, I'm not the biggest fan of these games. I do like Twisted Metal Black. But I do have to say that the game has a really fun loop, and what David Jaffe did here was like he brought something special to the PlayStation 1. This was a special game to a lot of people. And that's why I think, like, no matter how much of an annoying shill David Jaffe becomes for, like, weird internet politics, I do think that, compared to a lot of these talking heads on there, he at least created something. So I have to give him respect for that because, like, this game holds a lot of love for a lot of people. And I love the TV show, too. The TV show is really good.
I mean, it was, but not mainly. The genre I'm on about, as you can by now clearly see, is vehicular combat games. They always somehow manage to scratch that calming itch and keep me grounded. Which is odd, as back then, all the troubles I might have had were the troubles kids had, and nothing grown up or serious. Then and there though, to the young and stupid me they meant the world, and I needed to calm myself down. And funny enough, the easiest way for me to do so was to shoot up some buddies from the comfort of high-speed heavy armored cars. And 1990s to early 2000s provided plenty enough choice and high-quality games for me to have fun. First on the Amiga, where I had supercars games and Slick and Slides among others, and these were mostly top-down and 2D. And then, a few years later, on PC and console, considerably higher quality and fidelity, Death Rally, Carmageddon and Twisted Metal, all in different viewpoints 3D presentation. There were naturally many more games released in the genre, but it's these few that come to mind now. What most of them had in common though was that they were action-packed and fun.
Yeah, dude, this genre is dead. I honestly am very confused why this genre died. This is something that I know that there's a lot of people who want another Twisted Metal. There's a ton of people who, it's like a very, very popular talking point, like niche on YouTube, where people will just like watch videos about Twisted Metal and talk about Twisted Metal all the time. It's very weird to me that they haven't brought that back, or like Carmageddon or something. It just feels like a genre that would do really good in this landscape.
Sometimes literally twisted and often infinitely replayable. And as soon as the vehicular combat games peaked, they popped, and we've not seen nearly any of them since.
The average person sees around.
It really is weird that you don't see those anymore, because that happens a lot where you see like a genre pop off and then like there's too much overexposure to that certain niche and it becomes like too much for people to handle. You know, it's just like I don't want to play it anymore. But it's weird that it didn't come back into rotation after some time. You know, it's weird that it never had that revitalization, because I feel like it definitely could have.
Sometime around early 90s, when you said you were playing an RPG, you most likely meant that you were playing a dungeon crawler. A role-playing game that often gave you a party of different race and class adventurers, a grand quest or a task to fulfill, and a dungeon, mines, castle cellars, or a location similar to these to explore and conquer. They were usually filled with a whole manner of different buddies, big and small, all of them out to get you, and occasional puzzles of varying difficulty. Typical party consisted of melee combatants and casters, often supplemented with a healer, thief, or a ranger/archer, and the entire experience was viewed in first-person perspective, originally moving in steps and turning by 90 degrees only, with time evolving into fluid full 3D movement. And while in the early 2000s we've received 2 Legend of Grimrock games and excellent examples of a modern take on the genre, and a couple more titles in the last decade,
There's a ton of so I think because of the popularity of the Souls games, and we've started to see a bigger jump where people are even pulling the Kingsfield games back out. I think we're seeing a little bit of a comeback of these right now in the indie scene. I really think the indie scene is bringing back dungeon crawlers. Maybe not to the same style of dungeon crawlers, maybe leaning more into the Kingsfield side of things, but Kingsfield definitely was a dungeon crawler, just with a little different take on it. And I think that because of the popularity of engines such as Easy FPS Maker and some of these like more indie engines that are a little easier to use, you're going to see a lot more games like this that build off of the old dungeon crawler, at least aesthetic. We are going to see more of that.
Though this had some roguelites mechanics mixed in, it's hardly enough to resurrect the genre and consider it being well. Which is a bit sad, but also kinda understandable, as most first-person RPGs these days span numerous locations, most of which are outdoors and often cover large.
Oh, so he just means in the dungeon itself. And I mean, I think my Kingsfield point still stands, but like the problem with dungeon crawlers too is you're only in the dungeon. Like, I feel like the genre's not dead, it just expanded to a bigger world, and I think that was helped really by the first couple what were they called? Elder Scrolls games. The first 2 Elder Scrolls games showed that you could be more than just a dungeon crawler.
distances, sometimes even entire continents, or in case of those sci-fi ones, even planets and solar systems. Still, sometimes, not often, but from time to time, I do reminisce the simpler times and spending nights scouting countless dungeons, seeking that one key to open the door that was the only thing standing between myself and the boss fight that would no doubt not end up well for my party. Movie tie-ins is the only kind of games in today's video that I think I know why they disappear.
Oh, dude, the movie tie-in is mad dead. The movie tie-in is mad dead. And sometimes I miss it because there was a thing about movie tie-ins where they were a roll of the dice, whether you would get something absolutely fucking amazing or you would get something that was absolutely slop. And I think the way they do movie tie-ins now is a little weird because, like, you look at, like, the Jedi Survivor games where they're actually canon or where it's all a part of an extended universe. So, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think it's kind of annoying. Sometimes I just wish there was movie tie-ins because we'd get more games because of that. Sure, some of them would be bad, but at the same time, we need to experience. If it was good, we got to experience the movie we just watched in a better format. And sometimes the games were better than movies, like X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's something I really do miss.
And yes, one of the factors were their historically rather low quality. I mean, it's been a running meme for years, before the memes even existed, that most movie tie-in games sucked. And you know what? Perhaps it was not all, but most really did. I mean, the odd outliers like GoldenEye 007 on N64 were few and far between, and majority of the games were made.
Dude, I don't know if it was like you think it's like a few and far between, but there was some absolute fucking bangers, and I don't know if it was that, like, especially on the Xbox, there was some really, really good ones. And yeah, there was some like ones in the 360 that were kind of sad and stuff, but there was like some really, really, really good games. It just sucked that like there was like just as much bad. But I think back to all the Spider-Man games, they were so fucking good. The Wolverine games, so good. It's just like sometimes you'd hit and sometimes they would miss. But it usually seemed like Activision, when they did a movie tie-in, they would be really good about it. But the EA ones, I think EA was the one who did all the fucking Avengers ones, and those were all trash. Like the Thor game, the Captain, I don't know if they made a Captain America one, but I do know they made a Iron Man one, and that supposedly sucked all sorts of schlong. I heard the Green Lantern game was okay. I mean, some of them weren't bad, and I think a lot of people would like shit on them like unfairly. A lot of them would just be really short and fine. They would just be fine games overall. Like one that I remember people saying was bad, and I played as a kid that I really liked, was a Fantastic Four game, and I didn't think the Fantastic Four game was that bad. I thought it was actually a pretty fun romp. But people were like, oh, it was so short and it was bad. It was just generic, and I was like, yeah, it was generic, but I still thought it was fun. At the end of the day, it was still, I thought, a fun game. I had a soft spot for movie tie-ins. Even some of the bad ones I still have a soft spot for.
With little love or care put to them, as fast as it was possible to release and as close
this,
to
that fucking Nintendo era, though, they were just slop. They were just slop. They had no, there was no in between. It was mostly,
the movie,
and I think this is what he kind of focuses on.
As it was possible to cash in on its popularity before people realized what kind of a shit nugget they were investing in. It was not good for the developers, being rushed to compete often bug-ridden travesties. It was not good for the gamers, being disappointed time after time with each new tie-in. And most of all, it was not even good
I want to play this game. I really want to play this game. Dude, I fucking love the Fifth Element. I didn't know they made a game.
Investors who finally realized that it's better to be late and earn money than right on time and be in the red. And as the
it has tank controls. It has tank controls. Never mind. This is a PS1 game. Betting money is a PS1 game. I don't like this era of gaming.
Progressed throughout the years, and games got bigger and bigger, requiring entire teams first and then multiple studios to complete. Their budgets skyrocketed too. So, making a game based on a movie that would cost nearly as much as the movie itself was nearly never a right call. And fortunately for all of us, really, it's a call that hardly anyone makes these days. So yeah, movie tie-ins died. And with this, I can honestly say that it was mostly for good.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if it was mostly for good. I miss them. I really do miss them. I miss, I think that it was a fun genre, and we were getting more consistency of games coming out. That game looks really fire. The one that Ad just came on, that Marvel one, looks good.
On-rail shooters originated in the arcades. They were made, same as most other games for the arcades, with a sole purpose of making money. So, they were very demanding, giving you the right set of tools and mechanics to start off, do well for a little while, and begin to enjoy the game. just to put you down a few minutes later by a seemingly rogue attack, shot,
These games I never liked, bro. I was never a fan of these fucking point and shoot games.
grenade, or whatever else. Something that you think you could have spotted faster and avoided, and that
Well, Time Crisis I liked. I think the Time Crisis one at the arcade I always enjoyed because the guns would actually like slide back, so they it was really cool. Any ones where the guns had like cool shit like that I liked.
only failed to do because of bad luck. So naturally you would put another coin in and carry on. This time for a bit shorter, as another coming out of nowhere shot
Time Crisis.
eventually hit you. Now,
I remember playing this one. I really liked this game, but you would play these for a little while, and then I knew people who had like games like this on their console. My dad bought one that was like for the Wii. It was like the Resident Evil one, and I fucking hated it. I hated that I couldn't move around and make my own choices. I was like, dude, I have Halo, and this is supposed to be a next gen console, this Wii, and Halo looks better than this and is more fun.
this one was a bit faster, but definitely also one that you could have dodged if you spotted it in time. So you dropped another coin in, and that would repeat for a little while, until you've noticed that you did not get that far at all and wasted a handful of coins, and would need another one at least for even a remote chance to complete the game. And home conversions of these were not different at all. I mean, you did not have to pay for each try anymore, but the difficulty was definitely still there. And you still had to memorize all the enemies' locations, where the grenades...
They remade this recently, and I guess the remake fucking sucked. But I didn't want to play it because I'm like, dude, I'd rather just walk through the game and have my own control of the character.
bombs might come from, what to avoid, and all that quote-unquote fun stuff. And as it turned out, as fun as on-rail shooters may have been in the arcades, if you didn't own a light gun at home, playing this with a mouse or even worse a controller was not something to infinitely repeat until you got good. It was at most a fun palette cleaner between other, more content-rich games. With said light gun though, it was nearly as good as in crowded and smoke-filled amusement centers of the yesteryear and a time well spent. By 2024 though, the genre is no more. I hope that you enjoyed this trip down
That was a good video. That was a good video. I feel like a lot of these genres still have games popping up though. I don't feel like they're all fully dead. Maybe the movie tie-in. I feel like the list was the movie tie-in and the sports games are dead. Those ones are dead. But I don't know. I don't feel like they're as dead. I think a lot of them just evolved. I don't think it was much that they're dead because they're still racing games. It's just like you have to like take it and then add an adjunction to it. But it was a good video. I think he did some good work here. It was fun to find out there was some stuff that was kind of dead.